Mr. Fix-It.
Proudly supported by Aquabion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
Now, sorry, that's one of those moments where Faulkner really needs stronger coffee.
You are
Brian
that
Cloonan.
is so unprofessional, Will. I'm very disappointed. I'm really like I expect better. You are the man at the helm of the entire station and the station.
Yes, and I wouldn't mind. There's a big red button that says on. Do you think I had it pressed?
They tried to make it as idiot proof as possible, but it's obviously not idiot proof enough for you.
So on that note, let's get down to business before you find any more reason to slag me. Our first question is from a listener who says every time they use the Hoover at home, there is a horrible smell hanging in the air afterwards. And they're wondering what is causing that, and do they need to replace the Hoover?
Look, a lot of people will identify with this, and it's really about cleaning it. Take apart the Hoover as best you can. Obviously, empty the bag. If it's one with a replacement bag, it's probably time to replace the bag. And but the filters, every Hoover has filters, and 9 times out of 10 they are removable. So what I only the other day I have a little cordless one, and I took it out to the garden, and I took out the filter, and I got the garden blowvac, and oh my God, the dust that came out of it and the gunk that came out of it was incredible. So then what I did was and I do this every now and again, I spray Febreze onto the filters, and then I put the filters back in. So now when you use the Hoover for a while, now it doesn't last forever, but for a while afterwards, you get a smell of Febreze in the air instead of that horrible smell. But really, once you remove the build-up, and the other thing you could do, again, time if it's on your hands, which it is, take out the filters, sprinkle bread soda onto them. And if they're small enough, just put them in a little Ziploc bag with a load of bread soda. Dry. Now, they're dry because you want to hoover out the bread soda afterwards, and that'll kill any bacterial or what's the other one? Won't come to me. I've laid the meds. It does.
Will one, Brian one.
Yeah, in fairness. But that does make a big difference. And then put everything back together again, and as I say, spray on the Febreze. Febreze is something like one of those generic air freshener things that are perfect. Don't go, the perfume or the aftershave or something. They tend to be too strong, and it will definitely make a difference.
All right. Our next query then. Well, actually, there's a lot of comment on oil prices that I don't think really comes under your influence or indeed my influence. We
certainly will be affected, like everybody in the world will be affected by it.
But Jim is in the midst of all those outraged remarks about the price of fuel going up well before perhaps it should. He says, we have a wooden deck at home that really needs some TLC. My elderly next-door neighbour, who knows a lot about such things, has suggested yacht varnish, and I'm wondering if Brian would agree.
No, the one thing I'm afraid, Jim, the one thing you don't do is put yacht varnish on a deck or any sort of varnish on a deck. Decking, is it's a flat surface getting wet the whole time. And it's also getting wet from underneath because it's sitting on timber, and that timber is sitting on the ground. So the moisture is travelling from the ground up the timber and upwards as well as downwards. So the problem is the timber will get wet from underneath as well, and it has to get out. The moisture has to get out. So it will end up bursting off the varnish, very, very quickly. And then you have the major job of sanding off the varnish. So really you'd be saying two things. I would tend to avoid using a paint if I could at all. So you're either going to use an oil-based, preferably a water-based wood preservative that soaks in, or else a decking oil. But the oil-based wood preservative is the best, but the only thing is the timber needs to be dry enough to accept it. So I suppose the things have moved on so much. There are things, if you want to do this in a hurry, obviously at this time of the year, you'd be waiting a long time for the deck to dry out. So there are products out there like wet wood decking treatment, and there's other brands. That's Saddlin, but there's other brands available, and they're specifically designed for treating the deck while it is wet. So they will transform the decking, even in conditions like this. Now, while I say in almost every condition except for frost. So the problem is no water-based product likes frost, and you want really 24 hours without frost, because it needs 24 hours to cure. So it's not enough to say, I'll put it on at 10 o'clock this morning when the frost is gone, and sure, the frost won't be back until tonight, and it'll be dry by tonight. That's not the way it works. It dries in a few hours, but it cures over 18 to 24 hours. So you'll want to be keeping an eye on it. You don't want heavy rain or frost for 24 hours after you apply it. So again, not that easy to get at this time of the year, but if you get the conditions right and if you're in a hurry to get it. So sometimes we'd have somebody in and, they're having a christening or a confirmation or a communion or a party of some sort, and they need the deck done. They're coming in and they want the deck done in the next 2 weeks and they want to transform it and so on. Well, then you'd be going for the wet wood. But if somebody came in and said, look, I wanted some stage this year, I want to do the deck, then I'd be suggesting something like a proper oil-based wood preservative, because it will it will last. It will protect the timber a bit longer. It's not that it'll look any better any longer. The wet wood is very good, but it'll just last that. It'll protect the timber that little bit longer, and that's the two options. But definitely not a varnish.
I think you'll get a lot of mileage out of this saying from Hilda. Nothing is idiot-proof. Idiots are too creative.
Well, I'll ask one. What do you think, Will?
Brian, I do not dignify that statement with a comment. No way.
Can't think of one. Okay.
So, next query. Would you ask Brian about mould on the seat of a car? The car was idle for around 6 months. So, Shay wants to kill it and then remove it.
So removing it can be very difficult, but you'll usually have a fair degree of success, and some of it will depend on the colour of the fabric and the type of fabric it is.
So we're assuming fabric rather than leather.
It can be either, but fabric nearly always, it grows much quicker in fabric than it does in leather. And if it's on leather, it will come off it relatively easily. So have a quick look at it and see, and if it's very visibly on the surface, so sometimes it can be a black mould in the material, but sometimes it can be a white or grey mould kind of up on the surface, and you can, if you went down at an angle and looked at it, you could see this up about 2 or 3 millimetres above the surface of the fabric. And if it's that type, what you would do is get a hoover and hoover everything, but don't run it over. Don't force it into the fabric. What you're doing is you're kind of putting the hoover down onto the surface and then lift it off and put it back down again and up and down and up and down. And what you're basically doing is removing as much of the offending stuff as you can before you start treating it. And then you're going to get a mould killer. Make sure it is not a chlorine-based mould killer, because chlorine will destroy your fabric in the car. So normally when you're treating mould like that, you'd be drenching the surface. So it's a wall or it's a ceiling or it's timber or whatever it is, you'd be drenching it with the mould killer. But because this is a fabric, you don't want to drench it. So what you do is you'll put some of the mould killer into a bowl, you'll put a rag down into it, you'll drench the rag with the mould killer, and then you'll wring it out. And now you'll just wipe everything over. So now the mould it needs 24 hours to dry, but once you damp the surface that has the mould spores in it with the mould killer and leave it to dry, it'll be fine. 24 hours later, all the mould will be dead, and then you can go about cleaning it with a fabric cleaner if it needs it. Very often it won't need it once you've killed it off. A lot of it will just kind of become invisible.
Excellent. Brian, stay there for a moment, if you don't mind. Now, still to come on Midlands 103 this morning, Arthur from Dancing with the Stars, who, of course, is watching still Tolo McKay from Tullamore and Caitlin Cummins from County Laois both top the leaderboard and swap places week in and week out. So, how does he see the competition concluding? That's from €11:30 today. And we have €50 to put in your pocket, and you can spend it at Tirlawn Country Life, and they have many branches across the Midlands, including Mount Mellick, Tullamore and Monasterevin. And if you're into your gardening, well, you're in for a treat because they have expert horticulturalists and top quality plants to kick off the gardening season in style. So to win that, simply become Caller of the Day. And asking a question of Brian Cloonan is a great place to start. What's happening in your area next on the Community Diary?
Mr. Fix-It.
Proudly supported by Aquabion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
Brian Cloonan is here from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore, and our next question concerns the best paint for a flat roof. So this is just to help extend the time of the roof or the life of the roof. What would you be going for, Brian?
Well, I suppose it depends. If you don't have any actual leaks, there are various ones that are not too expensive.
Sorry, let me clarify as well. It's a felt roof.
But yeah, sorry, I don't know why. Did you not say that already? Or flat? No, when you said flat, I assumed felt. Sorry, yeah. So there are various ones, lots of different brands out there that will cover a reasonable area, because some of the very good ones are so thick and that they don't cover a huge area, and then to do a whole roof gets very expensive. So you just want to have a look and see. There's lots of different brands out there, but it's the fact that you're not looking to seal a particular leak, you just want to stop it becoming porous over time, which can happen. It's not going to be a big deal. The big deal is just getting up there and doing it, and most of them need dry conditions. Some of them will work regardless of, well, the surface can be wet, but the ones that you use where the surface can be wet tend to be more expensive. So the fact that this is really more preventative rather than curative means that probably time is on your hands, and you can wait for a dry couple of days. One windy day will dry out a roof, and then just brush it on. I would always say try and give it 2 coats and go in 2 different directions. So if you can imagine, you're going, up and down in the first one and then right to left on the second one. And that way you're making sure that you're getting a good coverage on it.
All right. Our next query, and by the way, 083 30 10 103 is the text or WhatsApp number. And every single question will be entered for Caller of the Day. You could win €50 to spend with Tier Lawn Country Life, and their local branches in the Midlands are in Mountmellick, in Tullamore and in Monasterevin. So, Marie says her carpet is beginning to look like Brian. Particularly along the wall that joins her neighbour's house. Have you any idea to what she might be referring, Brian? Yeah,
so this is a thing that comes up on a regular-ish basis, and it's a horrible thing. It is carpet beetle, carpet moth, and the problem is. So, in other words, it's looking bald as opposed to ugly. Wow. You see, I knew that. I knew exactly what she meant. Or was it you that put that in? I suspect whoever that caller was too nice to make a comment like that. So, yeah, look, the carpet moth, the carpet beetle, the carpet larvae, they eat pure wool carpet. They always eat at an edge. So they never eat in the middle of the floor. They eat where it's up against the skirting board, or if you have a piece of furniture like a sideboard, which is a long piece of timber completely in contact with the ground, as opposed to 4 little legs that wouldn't. They must feel safer at an edge. I don't know what it is, but it's always at an edge. And the problem is, if you leave it alone, it'll just get worse and worse. So what you do is you give a really good hoover all around the carpet, all around the edges, anywhere you have, as I say, furniture right down to the ground. Really good hoover. Clean out the hoover bag, empty the hoover. If it doesn't use a bag, clean it out before you start. If it does use a bag, put it in a new bag, because you're going to actually burn the bag or seal the bag and cling film afterwards to make sure those larvae don't get out. And also you want the maximum suction on the hoover, because you actually do want to remove all the loose wool that will be there, because now you need to decide whether you need to A, treat the carpet, or B, replace the carpet. So if it's really bad, there's no point in treating it if you're going to end up replacing it. So good hoover to take out all the larvae or do your best to take out all the larvae, and then make a decision. And if you're going to treat it, really I think the best thing is just the cheapest way to do it, and it works really well, is just get anti-crawling insect powder, which is a permethrin powder, and just sprinkle it on and then work it in. So put on a mask and put on a rubber glove or a plastic glove, a disposable glove, and work it into the carpet. It'll become really more or less invisible, unless the carpet is a really dark colour. When you work it in, it'll become more or less invisible. And you can now leave it there for a week or 10 days, and you're sure then that when you hoover that back out again, that any larvae that you may have missed with the hoover that may be so small that you didn't manage to pick them up, they will be dead, because the permethrin will kill the larvae as they hatch out. And, dead larvae do not produce more larvae.
Generally not.
No. So then that's it. You should be fine. Just keep an eye on it and make sure that in the future. So, and by the way, they reckon those larvae originate from birds' nests. So sometimes we've had people who would say, "Oh, I've starlings in the. I never minded the starlings, or I never minded the swallows on the side of the house." But the side effect can be those carpet beetle originating from those nests.
By the way, I have a DIY question.
All right.
Okay, so have a listen to this. Won't do it now. It's a squeaky office chair. How do you lubricate these things?
Well, it's either WD-40 or silicone spray. So I would say silicone spray is always better. So silicone spray isn't oily. It's a very clean lubricant. It's a fantastic lubricant. Just be careful where you use it. So we always just say to people, if you had an office chair on a wooden floor and you spray the lubricant onto the office chair and some of it drifts onto the floor becomes like a skating rink. So it's really good where you want something clean, where you don't want oily stuff that's going to... The problem with oil is stuff sticks to it. So very often if you used WD-40 or one of these products, which are all great products, but if you use them in a dusty environment, you'll see where all the dust sticks to it. With silicone spray, nothing sticks to it. So it's a really, really good way of lubricating something that has moving parts without being dirty, without ending up being... It's not that the WD-40 is dirty, it's just that it does remain oily and therefore dust can stick to it and it can look a little bit unsightly. But you'll never even see the silicone spray. We'd often recommend it to people for if they have... curtain tracks, if they have curtain rails, which they're finding it very hard to slide along. Well, what you would do is you'd spray the silicone spray, and it's not expensive. It's, I don't know, between €5 and €10 for a spray tin of it, and just spray it into the track, and then immediately move it back and forth, work it in to don't just spray it on and walk away. Spray it on and move the curtain back and forth to work the silicone into place, and you'll see a difference immediately, but it would work on your office chair. Yeah.
Joe adds one little note to the repair.
And by the way, do you find when other people sit in the office chair, it doesn't make any noise? Maybe it's only someone of your
considerable bulk. Yes.
What could I say? Yeah.
So Joe says, with the roof repair or the paint, you should apply the second coat in the same direction as the fall of the roof. This will help. Make sense?
Yeah, okay. So, yes, that makes perfect sense. The more important seal is the one that goes on in the direction of the fall of the roof. Yeah, great idea, Joe. Well done. Thank you very much for that. As soon as he said, I didn't know it, but as soon as he says it makes sense. And you know the way...
Why didn't you say that?
Because I didn't know that. But it makes perfect sense as soon as he says it. And this is,
why don't we have him in here?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know the way people sometimes say, how does Cloonan know some of the stuff he knows? And the reason is because customers say it. You know, people come in and they tell you these things, which is fantastic. So thanks to Joe for that.
He also has a ChatGPT subscription right in front of him.
Who?
You.
Have I? Oh, yeah. ChatGPT? No, I don't. I'm afraid I'm not technical enough for that. I'd love to be able to use that.
In fairness... Much as I hate to admit it, it is all up in that noggin of yours somewhere.
My daughter was showing me a while ago ChatGPT, and I was marvelling at it. And she said, she picks up the phone and she said, "Hey Chat, give me 4 pictures of a timber-fronted traditional hardware shop called Cloonan's Hardware." And I'd say within 4 seconds, in came 4 different pictures, and like so incredibly real. It just blows my mind, I have to say. I know you
Imagine
use it a
being an
lot.
artist or a photographer.
Yeah.
And it will happen to us all eventually. Anyway, on that cheerful note, Brian Cloonan will be here until 11 o'clock this morning. In the next hour, International Women's Day fast approaching. And one of the best pieces of advice is to keep calm in the chaos. But how do you achieve that? That's coming up in an hour's time.
Mr. Fix-It.
Proudly supported by Aquabion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
€50 to spend at any of the 15 Tier Lawn Country Life Garden Centres across Ireland. Well, just become caller of the day. You could simply ask a question of Brian Cloonan, for instance, and text 083 30 10 103. That's what another listener has done, who's also at Brian, and they say they clean an office where fire logs are produced, and hence wax is used in the production process. The workers bring the wax in on their boots, so hence there are lumps of it left all over the floor, and this is impossible to remove with regular mopping. Any solution?
Well, really the only thing that's going to break down wax is going to be probably an alcohol-based product. So now you don't have to probably use it that concentrated. And again, you know, there's so many places now have alcohol hand sanitizer that they're not using because it's not being used as much as it used to be. Thankfully, it doesn't have to be used as much as it used to be. But any alcohol-based product, so a little bit of methylated spirits added to water and give it a scrub and then mop it off just with hot soapy water and it should be fine. And that will break down wax completely. Alternatively, there are various floor cleaners that are designed for so if you have, you know, a parquet, a wooden floor or a lino floor or any sort of artificial flooring, you can buy a wax polish that goes on with a paint roller. So, you know, you have whatever artificial flooring you have and it looked great when it went in and now it's kind of dull and a bit scratched looking and doesn't look great. So you get this wax polish and it's really easy to put on. It's just called a floor polish and it goes on with a little paint roller or a big paint roller if you want to do it quickly, and put it on today. Tomorrow then you can walk on it and it looks fantastic. But sometimes what will happen is people will use this continually. So they might do it in a household situation. They might only do it once or twice a year. In a business situation, they'll be doing it more often. And then eventually the wax builds up and it can get grubby in its own accord. So then you need to remove the wax. So if you buy a wax polish removing floor cleaner, then it will also remove the wax in this case.
Okay. Next is a listener whose elderly father is going to be moving in with them soon, and they need to make the shower area far more accessible than is the case today. They can apply for a home adaptation grant through the council. However, they understand the delay is nearly a year. So they're looking for a solution that's more affordable and faster. And they recall, did you say something about your own father once upon a time?
Yeah, well, I suppose we were lucky we were building a house, so that we built the house for my parents and we designed the entire house so that there was no saddles and the shower was a walk-in shower and so on. But in this particular case, because, yeah, if you're waiting, you see the problem with these things, if you can't start the job until you get the grant and you have to wait for a year, that's just too late. So you'll be saying just handrails everywhere, and also not a big deal to put in a couple of panic pull cord alarms around the house, just in case of an issue of a fall, of a slip or whatever. But handrails are not a big deal. Get the stainless steel ones for a bathroom and actually you don't have to, you can buy stainless steel door handles, and they're pull handles for doors, but they're a lot cheaper than the handrails tend to be, and they do the very same job, and they're only cheaper because they're produced in such huge quantities, and they're stainless steel, so they're not going to rust. And it's all about putting the handrails everywhere. So you probably should get advice where to put it. But the other thing would be, look, I mean, I find myself, so before I went for my knee surgery that I mentioned last week, I actually put an extra handrail in the bathroom just to give myself an extra lift. And if you imagine yourself in a bathroom, and imagine yourself as, where would I need it? If I hadn't got power in my legs, where would I need the handrail? And the other thing that can be quite useful is a shower seat. Depending how mobile your dad is, your parent is, a shower seat can be really useful, where somebody can go in and sit down and have a shower, that they're not standing up for the duration of the shower, and then they just need a handrail to get up out of the shower seat. So it's have a look at that and see what you can do. But you can make it without spending, put it this way, a couple of €100 would go a long way towards making a bathroom safe for a parent, an aged parent or an aged relation.
We're almost out of time. I just want to give this one a quick mention. It's from Angela in Stradbally. Long story short, milk spilled in the car. Smell is absolutely horrific. Went and got the car valeted after trying numerous cleaning trends at home. Now our touchscreen radio doesn't react to touch. I've tried drying with a hairdryer. I've disconnected the battery, used different cloths. Nothing has worked. I think that's probably one for the mechanic.
I'm afraid so. Getting rid of the smell, there are chemicals specifically for it. The likes of the cleaning doctor can do it. And did somebody mention before that the ozone machine works? But the touchscreen, I'm afraid, is beyond me. I'm sorry.
Maybe if there's a friendly person in a mobile phone shop, get them to come out and have a look. They would understand screen technology.
Great idea.
Anyway, Brian, thank you.
All right, thanks, Will.
That's where we must leave it for today. He's at Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore if you wish to pick his brain. After the news at 11, Sinead Hubble looking at, among other things, how to relax for International Women's Day.